In 2024-25, the National Gallery of Canada is celebrating its Department of Prints and Drawings with Gathered Leaves, Discoveries from the Drawings Vault. This new exhibition features never-before-seen and rarely seen Western works from its collection. A little more than a century after the department's inception, this is a chance to reflect upon its history and to think about the people who have brought it to life. In the early years of the National Gallery of Canada, the director was responsible for curatorial duties. There were no separate departments for the various collection areas. This changed in 1921, when the gallery created a print department and the position of curator of prints to lead it. The department, whose role was to collect, study, preserve, and display works on paper, was the first of its kind in the country, and its leader occupied the first specialized curatorial position ever created at the gallery. The gallery's Department of Prints and Drawings has built a collection of more than 27,000 artworks. It has presented dozens of exhibitions at its home institution, at galleries across Canada, and in international art museums. Many people have played important roles in the establishment and development of the National Gallery of Canada's Department of Prints and Drawings. Particularly notable is the role that women curators have played throughout its 100-plus years of history. Following an initial period of vigorous collecting, the department had fallen into a lull by the late 1920s. Its first curator, Henry Rossiter, left Ottawa in 1923, after a very short stint, to return to the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, where he had begun his career. Sir Edmund Walker, the department's early champion, died a year later in 1924. In need of a leader, the department offered the position to a young expert from England. Hired in 1928, Kathleen M. Fenwick made history as the first woman curator in Canada. She would lead the National Gallery of Canada's Department of Prints and Drawings for 40 years. Upon her arrival, Miss Fenwick, as she was known, immediately began collecting Canadian and European prints and drawings of the highest quality. She was aided at various points in time by advisors and agents abroad who had direct access to the art market for historical works. By the time Miss Fenwick retired in 1968, the collection of prints and drawings held 12,000 works of art. In the year she retired, Kathleen Fenwick was made an Officer of the Order of Canada. She was honored for developing the collection into one of the finest of its kind and for promoting interest in the graphic arts in Canada, as well as knowledge of Canadian art abroad. Kathleen Fenwick's successor, Mimi Kazort, marked the department for the next 3 decades. Born and raised in the United States, she had joined the gallery team in 1967 as assistant curator of prints and drawings. She went on to lead the department for almost 30 years, retiring in 1997. Like Kathleen Fenwick, Mimi Kazort expanded the gallery's collection of prints and drawings in both scope and quality, and brought it worldwide attention through exhibitions both at home and abroad. Today, the collection of works on paper continues to be cared for by a woman. Senior curator Sonia Del Rey originally joined the National Gallery of Canada's Department of Prints and Drawings as an intern in 2004. During her 20 years in the department, she too has made countless additions to the collection through both gifts and purchases. Many of these works are on public view for the very first time in Gathered Leaves. Let's meet some of the people who are building, caring for, and displaying the Prints and Drawings collection today, as we learn how they went about organizing Gathered Leaves.
I began working at the National Gallery of Canada and the Department of Prints and Drawings in 2004 as an intern, and eventually I occupied every single position in the department. When I was named senior curator in 2017, my priorities were to rebuild the department and give it, again, its rightful place within the institution, and to also rebuild its international reputation, which my predecessors had worked so hard at establishing. And one of the things I always think about in my work is that I work for the Canadian public. Therefore, accessibility to the collection is one of my priorities. The exhibition, Gathered Leaves, is a truly momentous moment for us. Not only because we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Department of Prints and Drawings, but also on a personal level for me because it's sort of the culmination of 20 years of work at the National Gallery of Canada. The exhibition is really a look inside the vault and inside the work of curators, in that it will showcase many of the recent acquisitions we've made for the National Collection. The Getty Foundation in the US has very generously awarded us a major grant to produce the exhibition catalog. And to have such a prestigious organization support our work is a great honor. Our next big project will be to build a collection of works on paper by early women artists. In the exhibition, Gathered Leaves, visitors will be able to see, for instance, a sketch by the Italian painter Elisabetta Sirani from the 1660s, and also a beautiful pastel by the French painter Elisabeth Louise Vigée-Lebrun, dating to the 1770s. And we'll be sure to share those new acquisitions with the Canadian public, so stay tuned.
I began working with the department in 2018. The world of works on paper is both vast and ultra-specialized. And within the first few months on the job, I had the privilege of working on a number of key acquisitions that are actually going to be in the show, including our remarkable rare landscape by Danish artist Wilhelm Hammershøi, and also a haunting view of Lake Garda by German artist Otto Greiner. One of the aspects of my work that I value the most is the ability to interact every day with the objects. I love spending time in the vaults, getting to know the collection, and it's just such a privilege to really examine them closely. And drawings, as you will see in this exhibition, really require that sort of careful attention. The collection of prints and drawings increases our ability to tell the story of the history of art. We have works by artists in the collection that are not represented elsewhere. So that includes a remarkable abstract watercolor by Vasily Kandinsky and also a pastel by Edvard Munch. The Department of Prints and Drawings doesn't just complement the overall collection of the National Gallery, but it also deepens it and broadens it.
Paper is made out of plant fibers. It's a fairly simple material, been using it for thousands of years as humans. It's quite resilient, and as conservators, we're primarily concerned with preventing damage to works of art on paper. Sometimes when a work is damaged or has deteriorated, we can undertake what we refer to as conservation treatment to try to bring the artwork back to what the artist's intent was when they created it, or to stabilize the object. We repair tears, we remove surface stains and soiling. We keep the lighting levels relatively low in areas where prints, drawings, and photographs are displayed. Ultraviolet light is removed from the gallery lighting system. Older works, ones which were made before the Industrial Revolution, are a lot easier to deal with in some ways because they're predictable. And the paper that was available at the time was quite limited and made a very specific way out of very specific materials. So after the Industrial Revolution, specifically around 1860, paper started to be manufactured in new ways, industrialized. And also the choice of artist materials expanded a lot. Artists took advantage of this newer range of materials and products and started to use them to create art. And because of the sort of boom in diversity of materials, 20th century and contemporary materials can be particularly challenging to deal with because it's just not necessarily as predictable.
When you're framing works on paper, you have to consider the medium. You have to consider the different types of paper or supports. Some are very robust, some are very fragile. These things do have to be considered when you're choosing the materials and the methods of framing that you're going to use. If an artwork has come to us in its original frame, we make every effort to use that frame. One of the pieces in this show that has a very special frame is the view of the castle of Francheville near Lyon. This piece is really special because what you see as a mat, a green and gold mat on the piece, isn't actually a mat as we normally think of it. Instead, it's actually paint that has been applied to the back of the original glass. And the part that I really love about it is that the original glass has bubbles and imperfections which were inherent to the glassmaking process in the late 1700s.
Over the past 100 years, these and other experts at the National Gallery of Canada have built the prints and drawings collection into one of the finest of its kind in the world. The exhibition, Gathered Leaves: Discoveries from the Drawings Vault, offers a rare window into this historic department as it displays the strength and range of this priceless collection, held in trust for the people of Canada. We hope you can visit us soon to see the exhibition and explore this important cultural resource.